Hello, I'm Gavin Boyter and welcome to my channel. This is a new concept I'm trying out for a sort of conceptual ongoing writing project. The idea is that I use an online text generator to come up with 5 random words, nouns, adjectives, verbs basically. I select 5 of those and then, or rather the computer does it, and then I have to work them into a story. Using the words and also the concepts behind the words, obviously. And each story is going to be 1,000 words exactly, because why not make life a little bit harder? And hopefully it'll keep me busy during this weird crisis and maybe in some way be entertaining for some of you. So I hope you'll enjoy it. The first one, I will try and display the 5 words that have been selected here. The story is called City Without Music. Ichabod Thrum, by all accounts the country's most miserable man, knew the day would come when he was ejected from his boarding house, as he had been from all previous domiciles. The given rationales for this seeming act of cruelty ranged from the baroque, "we need to redecorate the boudoirs," to the banal, "we don't want your kind round here." Ichabod wasn't fooled. He knew that in truth he was simply impossible to be in close proximity to for any length of time. He was a man of dolorous countenance, lank of hair, long of shank, and quite incapable of a smile. Some wondered if the muscles required for such an action had atrophied in childhood. Most declined to wonder anything at all. Ichabod packed up his belongings, donned his shapeless overcoat and moth-eaten hat, and nodded a terse goodbye to his landlady, Mrs. Skellington, before stepping out into the rain. It always seemed to be raining when Ichabod was abroad, and if it wasn't, it soon would be. Ichabod's shoes made a clacking sound as he meandered through the cobbled streets. As evening gave way to night, the rain sharpened to hail, its gritty assault assuaged somewhat by Ichabod's hat, which he pulled down over his ears. A small boy skipped past, driving a metal hoop with a stick, and stepping on Ichabod's coat-tails, almost tripping him as he crossed the road towards Collier's Way. "Mind how you go, you little wretch," Ichabod crowed. With perfect timing, a hearse clattered past, pulled by 2 stout horses, driven by a rotund man in a flapping cape. Ichabod, as was his custom, raised his hat to the driver, who scowled back and nodded. He listened to the rhythmic clack of the wheels on the cobbles. Snick, snack, whirr, snick, snack, whirr, they went, almost a waltz. The hail hit the cobbles with a sound like a shaker full of dried peas. No vacancies. Closed. No rooms available. Collier's Way proved fruitless. At this rate, he might have to hike out to Madame Bouvier's tavern at the edge of the heath. It was a house of ill repute, damnably garish, and stuffed with bosomy trollops and degenerate politicians, all of whom he detested, and who would loathe him like the spectre at the feast. However, it generally had rooms, flea-bitten and odoriferous, available for 3d, or if he was lucky, perhaps a free sharpening of the kitchen knives. Ichabod's haversack was heavy with the whetstone and tools of his trades, and his back ached. He had to find shelter from this infernal precipitation. The lamplighters were out, creating globes of warmth amidst the murk with their long tapers. Leaning into the wind, he marched through the lanes, while the gentlefolk of the city hid in their taverns and homes, children pointing at his sinister figure, parents pulling them away from the windows. Ichabod reached the tavern's entrance, exhausted and in considerable pain. He marched straight up to the counter, and leaning in towards the plump Mistress Bouvier, who sat on a high chair counting the day's take. Before he could speak, she directed his attention to a notice stationed by her elbow. "No rooms tonight." Ichabod slumped, and in a hoarse croak asked, "Why, madam, is your den so full of vipers and vermin that you cannot host an honest gentleman?" Madame Bouvier adjusted her capacious bosom, which seemed to require constant maintenance. "Circus is in town, Ichabod. You can take a chair here by the hearth." With a grimace denoting gratitude, Ichabod slumped down onto a billowy armchair, quickly vacated by an equally billowy wench with vivid red hair and equine hips. A small boy ran from the hallway into the woman's embrace, looking shyly out at Ichabod as the old man felt his eyelids droop. The child with the hoop, thought Ichabod. I shall chastise him in the morning. An ugly percussion woke him from his slumbers as an icy wind blew down the chimney, across the cold embers in the hearth, creating a wailing threnody. The dawn chorus added a strange counterpoint, which pained Ichabod with its jollity. The room was quite empty. The irregular tapping came from down the hallway and was so irritating to Ichabod that he cast off his blanket thrown over him by a kindly stranger and hobbled off to investigate. Through an open doorway, Ichabod spied the small boy, tapping a beater against the drum with a flapping skin. The flaccid surface made a dull and unpleasant sound. Ichabod could stand it no more. "Give it here, urchin," he demanded, in a voice so stern that the boy dropped the drum and ran to the corner of the room, where he hid behind a drape, watching as Ichabod hunkered down onto the rug and examined the drum. Ichabod remained quite oblivious of the red-haired form slumbering in the bed at his shoulder, nor of the snoring acrobat who sprawled half across her. The catgut, holding the goat skin in place, had snapped. Ichabod looked down at his shoes, then across at the boots standing neatly by the bed. Nice long laces, he thought. Minutes later he had restrung the drum and was giving it some experimental taps, a simple but precise pattern in double 4 time, testing the deep notes at its centre and the higher sounds at its edge. "Perfect," he declared, rolling the drum over towards the boy, who blinked uncertainly before retrieving his beater and giving it a try. The deep sonority of the drum, plus a strange metallic tattoo, woke both the sleepers in the bed, and the drowsy woman and her paramour sat up, startled to discover a crow-like man dancing in a herky-jerky fashion, the metal taps on his shoes accompanying the rumbling drumming. His hands were lifted above his head, his eyes closed in something like bliss, his mouth straining to form the unlikely bow of a smile. Ichabod Thrum was dancing to his own beat in a city that had forgotten music. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it.